Coming up, I'm talking about Infinity Field in the game review. Jacob and I have a bunch of free apps in Planet of the Apps, and we have the CEO of Ymedialabs. Hello everyone and welcome to This Week in iPad. I am your host, Andrea Renee. Happy Friday to everyone. We have a great show lined up for you. I want to remind you that if you are interested, you can follow me on Twitter at Andrea Renee. And I'm joined here, as always, by Mr. Jacob Birch.
Howdy doody. How you doing?
I'm doing great, actually. I always love Fridays, right before the weekend.
And
it's so nice.
It's raining outside, but I'm warm thanks to my chai tea.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
very excited by it.
You're on a tea kick.
Yes, it's exciting.
I have never gotten into tea, even though I do like chai lattes, but that's not really tea.
You're getting there. Like this is chai tea without the cream and stuff. You're on your way. Just give it a shot.
Baby steps.
You'll be there. Yeah.
Baby steps. All right, like I said, we have a great show lined up for you today. We have a really cool Planet of the Apps at the end of the show, but I want to start off by welcoming our very special guest. We have Ashish Toshniwal from Ymedialabs joining us via Skype. How are you doing today?
Hi. Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to talk to you about Ymedialabs. And we have your website up. If you guys are interested in learning about Ymedialabs and their apps, you can head on over to ymedialabs.com. So tell us a little bit about your company and what kind of apps you develop.
So we are an iOS and Android development and design studio based out of Redwood City, California. And we have done a lot of consulting work with Safeway, Genentech, Bud Light, working with Stanford, as some of us are from Stanford, and also worked with a lot of startups here in Silicon Valley to help them build, mobile apps and mobile strategy.
Would you say that that's what your company focuses on more, is doing third-party work? I mean, companies come to you and say, I need to get into this mobile app game. Or do you guys focus more on creating your own unique individual apps?
So typically we have been focused more on third-party companies, like companies coming us for help on mobile consulting, mobile strategy, mobile design development. However, we have launched one or two of our own apps, which are doing extremely well right now.
Yes, and one of those is Alpha Writer.
So Alpha Writer is, again, we work with Montessori, based out of North Dakota.
Oh,
and
that's
this
where I'm from. I'm from North Dakota. That's fantastic. Sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted.
So this app is actually doing extremely well. In fact, until I think yesterday or so, it was featured on the App Store as one of the new and noteworthy apps.
Well, great. No, what's really interesting about all these education apps that are being featured and even that aren't being featured is that there's a lot of mandates coming out now that children are going to have to start buying iPads as part of their education program. We're seeing some school systems, particularly on the East Coast of the United States, that are requiring students to buy an iPad for school, and if they can't buy one, they have to rent one. So this is probably going to become a really huge market, wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. We are actually working, as I told you, working with Stanford. So we definitely see the same trend.
Well, great. What are some of the other apps that you guys have? I know your other big successful app is Locate My Phone.
Yes. So that's a bit of an interesting app. It took us 5 months to go back and forth with Apple and finally get it approved. We had no idea that Apple is coming out with their own Find My Phone thing. And finally, when we got approved, by then Apple had their own version. However, we are still seeing close to 1,000 users downloading that app every day. And it has a lot of other cool features, which is, geofencing. As soon as you enter like a location, it sends out alert, to your friends or family, whoever you want to share, your alert with. So it has a lot of social and geofencing elements to it. So it's not just Find My Phone, it has a few other features as well.
Well, very interesting. Now, this app actually started out, you guys offered it for free when it first was launched, and now it's a paid app. Is that correct?
So it has been actually free since day one, but it's more like you use it for 30 days, and if you like it, then you pay for it, and if you don't like it, you just try it out, and you don't need to pay for anything, but you cannot use it.
Okay, very interesting. I actually have the Apple version on my iPad because the Locate My Phone is an iPhone, hence Locate My Phone app. And it's interesting, this whole, you called it geo-trapping?
Geofencing.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating to me how people are kind of jumping on this wave where they want people to know where they are all the time. You see things like, Foursquare, where you check into places. You can check in on Facebook, and so what do you think people like about that feature? I mean, would you want your friends and family to know where you're at all the time?
So I'm a big techie in terms of when Foursquare was launched, I was one of the initial users. So I'm probably not a good sample set. However, from this app, it's pretty clear. A lot of users are actually using the feature where they can just share their location on their Facebook wall, and anyone who clicks on that link can actually see real time where I am or where that person is. So that feature, surprisingly, is pretty popular right now. People are using the link on their wall so that they can tell everyone where they are.
So I have only one question, because you actually I wanted to talk about competing against Apple on their own product, but you covered that pretty well. As a developer, one of the things we've been talking about on this show the last few weeks is expectations or hopes for the next iPad, hopefully being announced within the next 4 to 6 weeks. As a developer, what features are you really hoping Apple adds on to the next generation?
So so we are certainly hoping Apple would add the front-facing camera, so that this can be used as a video conferencing device.
Absolutely.
And I think that would be significant. So that is something which we are expecting. And other than that, I think maybe a little bit of what you can say. I think typing is not that handy right now on iPad. So if they can do something on those lines, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's actually what I've been clamoring for the most, is somehow, and they have supposedly patents on a more sort of tactile response on the keyboard, but it hasn't really come to fruition, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Well, we'll only be able to know once iPad 2 finally debuts, and hopefully they're going to be announcing it soon. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your guys' viral marketing strategy. On your website, you guys talk about how that's one of your specialties. How exactly do you take an app and then market it on the internet? How do you get the word out there besides just people stumbling upon it in the new and noteworthy, or perhaps in a search in the App Store? Do you guys have a specific process for advertising new apps?
Actually, we do. We strongly recommend that if once your app goes live and if you are confident that your app is a great app, then at that point, you certainly want to advertise on ad networks like AdMob, and other ad networks. That really helps you push, on the App Store ranks. And once you're in the top 100 App Store rank for that particular category, then people, discover you even more often. And at that point, you're just getting like huge number of downloads. And that's what has happened with our Locate My Phone as well.
All right, very interesting. Is there now, one of your apps was also featured in an iPad Apple commercial, which is very difficult to do, I'm assuming. Do you guys approach Apple directly, or did Apple approach you about featuring your app in their commercial?
So it's actually always Apple who approaches the developer. No matter how much you approach, I mean that will not help. So it's always Apple who takes that initiative.
So it must have been pretty exciting when they called you up and were like, hey, can we feature your app in our commercial?
Yeah, so that was also an app we did for our client, but certainly, you know, it's a pleasure to work on such apps.
Well, great. Well, you guys have an app that's out right now that I actually just put onto my iPad. It's the Card Factory.
Correct.
And what's interesting about this is Jacob and I have reviewed a number of card-making apps on the show. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And what I really like about this is that you don't have to buy a different card application depending on which season it is. You guys integrate birthdays, get well, holidays, romance, which can be for Valentine's Day, thank yous, and then these travel postcards, which I think is just fantastic. Now, did you guys kind of come up with this idea by seeing all these other apps out there and going, hey, Lightbulb, why doesn't somebody combine all those card creators into a single app?
So that is true, as well as, you know, because of New Year's, we were thinking of doing something really interactive for the iPad. So we came up with this idea and put together, you know, this app and launched it right before the New Year's.
Okay, so how is it doing so well? Is it do you find it as being pretty successful, or do you think it's struggling to compete against all the other card apps that are out there?
So it's very seasonal. You know, when there was it did extremely well around Christmas. Now it did extremely well around Valentine's. So whenever there's an occasion, we just see a lot of spikes. So it's kind of very inconsistent.
No, that makes absolute sense that you would be selling cards when people want to be sending the most amount of cards, which would be holidays. So,
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to ask you one more question before we leave you for the day. What about Ymedialabs you want our viewers to know about?
So I just wanted to let all of you guys know that we develop extremely engaging apps, and Apple has recognized us over and over for that. So if you have any great ideas, you know, you are working on, we've worked with a lot of top brands, so would love to, you know, share your idea with us, and you know, we can hope to work in the future.
Well, maybe you'll have to work on an app with us. We're hoping to get a new one going here soon.
Okay, then.
All right. Well, Ashish, thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy your weekend, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime soon.
All right, Andrea. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Well, very excited. And their Card Factory app is actually really cool, you guys. I highly recommend you check it out. I don't have time to go through a whole review here because it's time for the iPad Game of the Week. There it is.
My weekend was going to start on the wrong foot.
That's all right.
No dance, though.
And this one, I have to say, I'm very excited about because I'm a huge Geometry Wars fan, and this game is almost identical to Geometry Wars, but for the iPad. And I don't have my little fling stick-on joysticks today, but that is a great way to play this game. So this is the game. It's called Infinity Field. This is your basic menu. There's a campaign mode, and you can do Crystal, which is, you know, online leaderboards. And I'm going to show you a little bit of survival mode. And they have multiplayer via Wi-Fi, which is also fantastic. So there's 6 basic modes for single player. And I'm going to show you just the basic Infinity here. So it's a dual stick shooter. Here, let me get this so there's not any glare. There we go. And so you have you're on the left, you're going to control your little ship here, and on the right is your shooter stick. And basically, all you have to do is not get hit by all the other shapes, and then try to shoot them down, which is exactly like Geometry Wars, if you guys have played. And it's strikingly similar. You can tell they've got that electro raver music going in the background. And if you run into any of the shapes, you blow up. They have the bombs that you can use, just like in Geometry Wars. But there's some cool other game modes that Geometry Wars doesn't have that I think is really interesting, and I'll show them to you. So that's the basic game mode. I'm going to go back out to the main menu here so I can show you some of the other modes. I'll show you Cruises mode, which, as you can see, you have these little ships that are flying at you all the time. And this is probably one of the more difficult modes because these ships search for you. Oh, here, I'm sorry, I'm moving it. There we go. And the longer you stay alive, the more points you get. Now, it was interesting, I was talking about, have you ever played Geometry Wars, Jacob?
I have not.
You've never played Geometry Wars?
You constantly get shocked at me not playing a more casual game. One day you will learn.
It's a dual stick shooter. It's not a casual game.
You're a shape. It looks like a lot of fun, and every time I play one, I get super addicted to it. So it's not a judgment call. I never download them. That's all.
That's all right. I'll forgive you. Now this mode is kind of interesting. You have this shooter, and what it does is it just makes them inoperable. So it just holds them in place, called zombie mode. So these guys are all coming after you, and you shoot them, and it kind of freezes them into place. Now if I quit running into things. I'm nervous, I'm performing on camera.
Uh-huh. That was long.
And then they bring up these radioactive bombs, and that's how you get rid of them. You have to avoid running into it, which I'm failing to do. So I'm going to show you guys another mode. And this one is called, I like this one. This one's called Snake Mode. And the way that you play here is that obviously you see this red line. In order to kill, you don't shoot. You have to make sure that they all run through your little laser beam. Which, at first, is pretty easy. But as they get more and more shapes coming after you, it gets increasingly more difficult. But I love the variety here. I love that there's so many different kinds of game modes. I love that they have a campaign and that you can do Wi-Fi multiplayer. The graphics are pretty simple, but they're colorful. They're always very engaging. And sometimes in the upper levels, it actually gets quite difficult to see where your character is on screen because there's just literally so much color bouncing around. So that's Snake Mode, and then the one last one I want to show you is called Unarmed, where there's actually no shooting at all. Where basically what you do is you're attached to these bombs, as you can see, with the little radioactive sign. When you get close, you have to run into them, and then they will explode and kill any nearby enemies. So it's kind of a fun little game. And if you guys remember those fling press-on joysticks, virtual joysticks, they're little plastic pieces, they would be perfect for this game. They would actually probably help out significantly. But I find the controls really easy to use. The virtual joystick is not overly sensitive, and I don't find that I feel my fingers slipping off it a lot, which you tend to find in a lot of games that use the virtual joystick. So there you have it. This is a little bit of Infinity Field. It's only $1.99. It's by one of my favorite game publishers, Chilingo, famous for Angry Birds and Cut the Rope. And it's a great game, and it's only $2, and it's completely worth it. And if you're a Geometry Wars fan, this is a must-have for you if you're an iPad gamer.
It's wonderful how on the iPad and on the iPhone, so many great games are $2. It's just such a departure from want a great game, $60.
Yes, exactly.
And then if you picked the wrong game because it was a title you were really excited for, before reviews came out, you're just screwed. So
absolutely. I mean, and now you're seeing a little bit more expensive games. You know, the $6.99, $9.99s.
But still, it's a sixth of what we were like. When a really expensive game is still a sixth or a third of what a platform game is. It's a fun place to be.
Absolutely, and that's why I love gaming on the iPad. And that leads us to Planet of the Apps.
You maniacs! Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Don't download it, Lon. You might not like how it runs.
All right, now before we get into our awesome free Planet of the Apps, I want to talk about this really cool product. If you guys are familiar with our network, you know about Kevin Pollak. He's one of our founders, and he has a fantastic show, the Kevin Pollak Chat Show, and he's been working with this Bowflex Treadclimber. I absolutely love this, and the reason why I'm talking about this today is because we have been working with Bowflex because they have this amazing product, and it's that time of year where we're all feeling a little sluggish, we all want to get into better shape, and they make it super easy. It's a great workout device that anybody can use, and all you have to do is walk. There's no running, there's no jogging, there's no crazy jump roping. All you do is walk, and Bowflex recommends you do it for 30 minutes 3 times a week. And what's really cool about this product, you guys, is it combines the motion of not only a treadmill, but a stair stepper and an elliptical into a single motion. So it's like getting 3 workouts in one. You burn twice the amount of calories than you would running on a regular treadmill. And the really cool thing about the Treadclimber is that you can take your iPad and you can just set it on the display that's on the front. And if you're like me, you want to be able to read a magazine or do something else to distract you or watch TV to make the minutes of the dreadful cardio go by. And you can just put your iPad right on the display, pull up the daily or pull up your Netflix account or whatever you're reading or watching at the moment, and you can just start it up and just walk for 30 minutes 3 times a day, and you can get a great workout. They have a really cool free info kit and DVD that you can request. You can either go to bowflex.com, the website that you can see here, or you can go to walkwithkevin.com to get our special This Weekend informational kit, or you can call 1-800-436-6063 to find out more information about the Bowflex Treadclimber. And I know it seems a little random that I'm talking about it on my iPad show, but I'm just really excited about this because we all need to stay in shape, and it's winter, it's hard to get outside and work out, and gym memberships are expensive.
And you're addicted to Angry Birds, you're home all the time.
Exactly, and you can actually play Angry Birds on your Bowflex Treadclimber.
A little difficult, maybe.
It's not as difficult as you think.
Have you done it?
I have been on the Treadclimber. Well, I've never played Angry Birds on the Treadclimber, but I do really love this
It'd be like
product.
trying to do this. I can't do this. So, to me at least,
you probably
the
need to have
non-multitasker.
one hand on the safety rail.
I just been doing two things at once. Not capable to do it. Not a multitasker.
That's because
Now
you're,
watching.
that's 'cause you're a man.
Yeah, I guess.
Men can't multitask. Okay, not all men. That was a generalization. All right, so
Angry letters.
on to Planet of the Apps. And Jacob had a fantastic idea about bringing in free apps, and we're going to try to do this once a month where we make sure we do an all free apps Planet of the Apps. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure. My first app is Hotel Pal. We did travel a little bit ago, and this one is new, so it wasn't around when we did it, but it's free, and it covers some, like, I love using Kayak, which is an app we reviewed heavily last time for hotels, or excuse me, for flights, but hotels, the selection is sort of hit or miss. Oh, I'm able to connect. That's cute. I think it was just a temporary thing. It's dead. It doesn't like me. There we go. There we go. So this app is really wonderfully designed. It's free, and the amount of data they seem to aggregate is really huge. So I'm going to Atlanta in a few weeks, so let's look for hotels there. Atlanta, Georgia.
What are you doing in Atlanta?
There is a conference, PyCon, dedicated to the Python programming language that I'm going to.
Oh, interesting.
I actually do already have the hotels figured out, but if I didn't, so here's Atlanta. Those are the dates I'm already going for, and it shows you both the price and the map where you are, which I think is...
That is so handy.
Because usually it's just the dots, and you have to click and sort by price, and it's usually not the convenience. So here's a $45 one, and I am cheap. So this Fanta Suites Pine Street, doesn't that sound wonderful and romantic? So let's pick that. And it beautifully opens up, shows the different rooms they have available, the location, any pictures they have available. I say I want the double room, because I'm a big spender, except when I'm cheap. And then you're able to book it completely through Ymedia and enter your information, enter your billing information. It works right away. It's a simple app, so there's not a whole lot to show, but it works. And that's what's so great about it. It's clear. You don't have to figure out, oh, if you go here, this is how you do by price, or if you go by here, this is how you do by map. There's a search button. You're able to go on the map and hold your finger down, and it would show you the hotels in that area, and it works exactly how you would want. Makes finding a hotel super easy. I recommend it a tremendous amount.
No, that seems like a really convenient app, and I wish I would have known about that yesterday when I was booking my hotel for GDC, which I'm going to in just a few days. So, but no, that seems cool. So now on to my cool free app. As you may or may not know, if you're fashion aficionados, it's been Fashion Week going on in New York, and in honor of that, they put out this really cool app called The Cut on the Runway. And what's really neat about this app is that it allows you to look at live shows if they're live. They're all over now, unfortunately. And then it lets you look at individual looks from each show. And then you can also watch a video, see who was at the after parties, read any news. And it's really colorful and really beautiful. So this is the home page. And down here across the bottom, you can see different news stories. Model tracker, retail therapy, cover girls, all kinds of neat things down here. This is from the Sass and Bide show right here on the cover. You can click down here and go to the Sass and Bide show. Up here, they have this really handy tab system. So you click on shows, and then it takes you, sorry about that, it takes you to this page and brings up all these different shows. And this has the top 30 shows right now. And from here, let's see, I want to check out the Marc Jacobs show. So it brings up the looks of all the models that were on the Marc Jacobs runway, which I think is just fantastic. So of course you can pick one and it enlarges it so you can take a look at the fashions, and then you swipe through each one watching. And then what's really neat about it is that down at the bottom here you see hit or miss, so you can rate it. I think this dress is beautiful. It's gorgeous, so I'm gonna go it's a hit. And then it says 76% agree that it's a hit. So see, I got it right. Now this is a little weird. I don't know what's going on here, so I'm gonna hit miss. Apparently I'm in the minority, everyone else likes it. And then you can go ahead and rate all of these looks, which I think is really fantastic, so you can kind of see what everyone else thinks about it. And then if you go back out to the screen, you can click on details. And then what it'll do is it'll give you the accessory information that the models are wearing, which is just another layer deeper that is such an unexpected but amazing thing, because you never think, well, what are the shoes that the models are wearing? Or maybe you think it, but you never get to find out. And then they have the front row tab, where you get to see which celebrities were sitting in the front row at the Marc Jacobs show. So you can click here and see the celebrities hanging out with Marc Jacobs, because he's so she. Very nice. And they have party, which is, of course, the after party for the Marc Jacobs show. They have some photos. And then they have runway video, which, of course, is horizontal, which is nice that they integrate that. And then they'll show you a little bit of the Marc Jacobs runway show.
Very dramatic. Fashion serious business.
Absolutely. New York Fashion Week is like the biggest fashion week. It's amazing. And so even if you weren't there, you get to see the images. I mean, this is great quality. You try to go on the internet and find this, it's difficult. You find YouTube videos that are bad quality. Some of the magazines have little clips, but they'll show you a large chunk of the fashion show. And I mean, look at how fantastic that is. This is just, I can't say enough.
That woman is in a bathrobe. That doesn't count. These are cheating going on.
I can't say enough about how much I absolutely love this app. If you are into fashion at all, if you're anyone you know is into fashion, this is an absolute must-have app. It's fantastic. It's free, and it's available on the App Store. It was featured this week, so check it out. The Cut on the Runway.
So my next free app is a game. Shocking, I'm going to review a game.
I'm very proud of you for picking a game.
It's called Sand Slides, and I enjoyed it a lot. The graphics aren't anything to write home about. Let's do practice because I suck, and I don't want to have to die. And it will see if I can confangle the angle so it actually shows up. The number one thing I'll say about the game that makes me really excited about it is any game that actually uses the, oh yeah, that'll work, iPad interface as opposed to standard, let's sort of, jury rig a joystick system onto it.
Right.
I automatically gets a lot of praise from me, and this works exactly how you do. So you have vials up top, and they start dropping sand, and I'm losing right now. And you need to get them into the correct color bucket, I guess you would call it. And all you can do is draw 3 lines at a time. So this is going to be red, and it's going to be bad, so I'm going to draw a little bucket to capture it real quick, and it'll go right in there. And that one's done, so I can drop it now, and it's going to die, and I need one there. And that's basically the game. There's different settings. This is the practice mode. Normally you would have a score up top, and if you keep getting colors, like I have green dust going into the wrong bucket right now, you'll lower the amount, and once you get a certain amount of dust in the wrong bucket, the game's over and your score is set. It integrates with Game Center, another thing I think more and more games need to do. And it has an achievement system. If you do certain things, you get certain combo points, it gets an award. It's free. I haven't hit any advertising, which surprised me. I don't know if it's free for a limited time and they're going to make it a paid app. That would seem to be the strategy. But while it's free now, get it. It's a great diversion. Most of my diversion games are word games, so when I'm not in a vocabulary heavy mode, this is a good sort of alternative for me, and it's free, so get it now. It's in the top apps right now, so it should be easy to find, and it's called Sand Slides.
Nice. I like it when apps are actually free. I know it's a continual frustration if you read in the app reviews when they make it free, and then you have to purchase, then you play for 10 minutes, and then they're like, oh, if you want to continue, pay $4.99 or $6.99. And some people really like that because then you don't lose your progress that you've done in the first part of the game. And other people are like, well, I wouldn't have minded if you had just said up front, hey, you get the first level free, and then you're going to be asked in-game to pay. So just be on the lookout for that. But all the apps we're talking about today are 100% free. You don't have to pay for them.
Yeah, unless there was a secret mode that I didn't discover everything about. Everything I did was free. I was never prompted. So.
Oh, great. Now I'm talking about an app that you guys have actually previously talked about on this show, but I absolutely love this. And in honor of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that came out, how do I get back out to the main menu? Hold on a second. Which is a fantastic game for the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the PC that we talked about on This Week in Video Games this week.
They're making fun of my tea drinking. I'd like to know.
I know, the chat is blowing up about you and your sand in your tea.
Well, whatever. I enjoy it, and that's what matters.
I don't know why I'm struggling to get this to go back out to the main menu. Anyway, it's the Marvel Comics app, and right now I'm looking at a Captain America app. Or a comic, I should say. That's what I'm looking at. And I'm zoomed in, and now I'm zoomed out. There we go. And what's really neat about this app is that you can purchase comics inside the app, but they also offer weekly free comics, which I love because that's free. And I'm cheap when it comes to comics because I'm not like a giant comic book nerd like Matt Robb, who hosts This Week in Horror, who's like the biggest comic book guy I've ever met in my life, next to Flitz. So this is cool, and what's really beautiful about this is that the graphics look phenomenal. The interface is really easy to use. It's just like reading anything else. Oops, sorry about that. It's just like reading anything else on the iPad. And you get to interact with all your favorite comics, and they make purchasing comics in-game really easy. And let's say you're having trouble reading that really small type. All you have to do is, when you have both fingers not holding your iPad up, okay, come on! This demonstration is not going well.
Double tap.
There we go. Thanks, Jacob. So when you're squinting to read, you can actually zoom in, which you can't do with a real comic book. You have to get out a little magnifying glass. So that's one of the perks of reading comics on your iPad versus reading comics on an actual comic book, even though some people like books, like the tactile of having the paper in their hands. I've never been much of a comic book reader. Have you?
I have. And I sort of fetishize books and comic books, but at the same time, it's nice to have the convenience of not having to haul them all around and worry about getting them dirty. So,
absolutely, I completely agree. And this is a perfect way to do that. As you see here, I've come to the end of the comic, and it gives you a chance to rate it. Or, if you want, you can buy it in print, or you can buy the full series, which is a really great way for them to sell you more stuff, because it's not like Marvel doesn't have enough money as it is. But I do love Marvel. I love their characters. I know that they have a DC Comics app that does the exact same thing. It's virtually identical to this, except it's DC Comics and all the DC characters instead of the Marvel characters. And you can get the Hulk. You can get, as you can see here, Captain America. You can get all
Spider-Man, X-Men, all sorts of kind. And I believe all of Marvel's sub-labels as well are available. Same with DC's, so.
And I'm being retarded. I don't know why I can't get back out to the main menu. I'll figure it out eventually, but until then, It's the end of the show. Because it's
Hooray.
Friday, and we all want to head out, and we know that you guys got lots of other cool stuff going on. So next week, Jacob will not be here.
I know, pressing, huh?
Sad. So I'm either going to do the show by myself, or we're going to find a cool guest host.
Well, fine.
We'll
Cooler
see.
than me, probably.
Oh, come on. No need to self-deprecate. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to This Week in iPad. As always, you can follow us at TWI iPad on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook, This Week in iPad. You can email us at ipad@thisweekin.com. And as always, rate and subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/thisweekin. Thanks so much, you guys, and I'll see you next week.